Manly Hall Official is glad to produce, publish and offer Astrology and Karma. How we make our own fate. There is no fatal necessity in the stars, wrote Lord Bacon, and this, more prudent astrologers have consistently allowed. Opponents of astrology frequently advance the argument that belief in the influence of the heavenly bodies leads to a fatalistic attitude towards all the problems of life. We all like to think of ourselves as free agents. If you're enjoying this video and finding value in the content, we kindly ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel. A large portion of our listeners and viewers haven't subscribed yet, and by doing so, you'll help us grow and continue bringing you more high-quality audiobooks. Your support means a lot to us, and it's just one click away. So, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stay connected and never miss out on our latest releases. We chafe at any factor of restraint, physical or psychological. We all like to talk about free countries, free speech, and free trade. The very thought of freedom has become a fetish. We rise in righteous wrath against anyone who seeks to curb the spontaneous abandon of our actions. We acknowledge no authority superior to our own desires, and feel that the democratic theory of government has released us forever from supervision and restraint. Are we not all born free and equal? May not the humblest child hope to be a senator when he grows up? Were not all our great capitalists, prize-fighters, and movie stars once humble and insignificant persons? Every man knows he is the equal of every other man and superior to most. Success is a matter of breaks. Even the subtle restraint of the merit system, demanding certain standards of thought and action, has been dissipated by the equality complex. The materialist views astrology as a sort of astral theology. He feels that old orthodoxies are being fed to him again under a new name. He feels the influence of the heavenly bodies to be as improbable as heaven and hell, and relegates angels and planets to a common limbo. The modern man, wise with the conceits of 20th century scholasticism, can find nothing in the universe nobler than himself, and settles down to a fanatical veneration of his own superiority. It is not, of course, within the province of any science to convert a man against his will, yet even a little thought must convince the reasonable-minded man that some principle of order binds together the far-flung purposes of the cosmos. It certainly cannot be scientifically demonstrated that the universe is merely one vast accident manifesting by means of innumerable lesser accidents. Despite the conceits of mortals, the vast pageantry of cosmic order throughout its every part manifests absolute and immutable laws. The very thought of this cosmic law oppresses and disturbs the lawless mortals of this generation. Man hates to think that he is a mere atom moved by inevitable and immutable laws. Egotism is the most easily offended of the conceits, and man is mortally offended by the immensities of the universe about him. The universe of the wise man is unendurable to the foolish. To ease the aching of his personal pride, the sophist has decreed that space be regarded as mindless and soulless, that man alone is endowed with sovereign reason, decreed by the accident of fate to become master of all the works of the infinite will. How different from this modern attitude was the gentler vision of the ancients. They held all creation to be ensouled by a divine will and a universal purpose. Instead of being offended by the sense of their own smallness, they rejoiced in the vastness and sufficiency of the wisdom that preserved all life and sustained the order of cosmic progress. It was among the wisest of ancient nations that philosophy and astrology grew up together, each accepted as a complement of the other. Nor was antiquity enfeebled by a sense of fatalism. Rather, it rejoiced in the recognition of immutable institutions of law in which no elements of change or accident existed. Having discovered and accepted the great laws of life, the philosophers of antiquity put their own lives in order, gladly acknowledging the sovereign wisdom which regulated justly and with certainty all celestial and terrestrial affairs. The law of cause and effect is one of the most important of the 7 great laws by which, according to the ancient wisdom, the universe is sustained. The acceptance of this law and the understanding of its inferences is found in nearly all of the old systems of religion and science. Over 40 great nations of the past have preserved this law in their scriptures by the statement which we call the Golden Rule. Unrecognized by most, this same law preserves all the consistencies of life in action. The farmer plants his seed with perfect assurance that it will grow. Science accepts this law in every laboratory experiment. We live from day to day sustained by the conviction that certain causes will always produce consistent effects, and we have never yet been disappointed. The law of cause and effect. Yet very few people apply the law of cause and effect to personal action. Sometimes this is because of ignorance, but more often, as already observed, it is because the training of the modern man has caused him to feel that he is in some way superior to or apart from the ordinary edicts of nature. The great philosopher of India, Gautama Buddha, once said, "Effect follows cause as the wheel of the cart follows the foot of the oxen." We live in a world completely ruled by a law of universal compensation. Most of the miseries which now afflict suffering mortals are due to ignoring the principle of compensation in action. We do not sense the profound moral inference behind the story of the sowing and the reaping. It is perfectly natural to ask, how does astrology fit into this picture? What part do the stars play in the administration of the law of cause and effect? To understand this point, we must also have recourse to another law of the ancients, reincarnation. Life, eternally building, is constantly improving vehicles for its own expression. For our present purpose we narrow this subject down to the life of man, for as Socrates once wisely observed, the proper study for mankind is man. Reincarnation applied to man teaches that each human being has already lived many times upon this earth and in future ages will frequently return. The present life of a person is therefore not the whole of his existence, but a mere fragment. Causes leading up to this present existence are not always evident in this life, nor are the consequences, which, arising from present action, will manifest in some future life. The ancients believed that from the horoscope it was possible to discover certain generalities of the previous life. The law of cause and effect, when applied particularly to human concerns, was called by the ancients karma. Karma does not mean fatalism, but rather, compensation. When a man buys something on credit, he creates a debt, and the law declares that he must pay that debt. In a material, economic transaction, this would not be regarded as fatalism, but as responsibility. Every action which a human being performs may thus be regarded as a cause, and every cause thus set in motion must have an effect consistent with itself. This is not fatality, this is compensation, or karma. In this unphilosophic age we all like to hope that by some mysterious formula we can escape the responsibilities of destructive action. We want to be selfish, but we do not want to suffer the reactions of selfishness. We constantly break natural law, and we are all seeking some panacea which will remove from us the unhappy consequences of our indiscretions. The theological doctrine of the forgiveness of sin is a salve to take the sting from the reactions of iniquity, but the law of cause and effect can never be evaded, and all the evils that we do return to us again. There is no escape from any part of them. The law of compensation, or karma, has two distinct aspects. Good karma is the beneficent reaction of constructive action. Fine and noble causations produce like consequences, bringing us joy and security and the good things of life. Bad karma is the reaction of destructive action. Evil causes set in motion produce evil consequences, resulting in the miseries and misfortunes which afflict this present life. When we are born into this world, there are three factors working together, molding and modifying our existence here. The first is good karma, which brings certain privileges of happiness and improvement and surrounds us with such good things as we have earned. The second is bad karma, which manifests as the difficulties of the hour and the apparent evil fatality which dogs our footsteps. The third factor is action itself, our individual expression which is constantly making new karma, good or bad according to the merit of the action itself. Philosophy therefore teaches us to be modest in success, good karma, patient in adversity, bad karma, and constructive in all action. A life so lived promises future lives of greater enlightenment and happiness. The law of cause and effect controls, among other things, the actual phenomenon of birth itself. We are born at the time which we have merited, and into conditions which we have merited, and into opportunities suitable for the next stage of our development. Each person is in the place he has earned for himself, and if he is dissatisfied with his present condition, then he must set up within himself the causes which will result in a better state. Astrology is the mechanism which administers the law of karma. The universe is vibration. The interaction of the heavenly bodies is constantly setting up fields of specialized vibration. The incarnating entity of man is also a rate of vibration, modified by the karmic factors within itself. The incarnation of the individual is determined by these vibratory factors. He is born into circumstances consistent with the karmic modifications of his own nature. He is born when the planets are arranged in a pattern consistent with his own karma. With his first breath, man breathes in the sidereal influences, and what he has merited comes to him from the stars and becomes the individuality determinant for his entire life. The stars then are not merely sending baneful influences upon some poor, weak, helpless mortal. They are really administering universal justice, bestowing upon each according to his own works. This is not fatalism. It is compensation. One of the first things that every philosopher must learn is to pay gladly the debts which he has incurred in nature. All karma, both good and bad, leads finally to enlightenment through experience. It is very often possible to determine to some degree the karmic elements in life from the horoscope, for in many respects the nativity is a statement of indebtedness, a bill rendered to each of us when we are born. In it are set forth the debits and credits of karma, as these apply directly to the present life. The path of progress is with the sun, and as karma arises from past action, it is most apt to be revealed through the qualities of the signs preceding those occupied by the sun and the ascendant in this present life. The signs of the zodiac are alternatively positive and negative. The positive signs are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. The negative signs are Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. To understand what is meant by positive and negative, it would probably be more appropriate to use the terms objective and subjective. Objective signs gain experience by contact with external sources of knowledge and objectify impulses. The subjective signs are much more introverted and their reactions rise from within themselves rather than from external contact. The positive and negative signs alternating represent an ebb and flow of energy. The Oriental philosophers symbolized it by an in-breathing and out-breathing, an alternating process of externalizing. These signs are closely related therefore to cause and effect, the positive signs being causes, and the negative signs effects, or actions and reactions. Persons born under the positive signs of the zodiac are not so apt to sense the karmic factors in life as those born under the more sensitive, psychical negative signs. This does not mean that the positive signs escape cosmic law, but they interpret impulses so definitely into action that they seldom feel the retributive aspect of energy. This explains why people born under the negative signs are much more fatalistic than their positive sign brothers and sisters. You may have already observed that each of the zodiacal signs includes among their keyword qualities belonging to previous signs. I believe that each sign works out the karma of the previous sign. Also, each sign rebels against the limitations of the previous sign. The sign of the zodiac under which we are born reveals not only the personal tendencies of the present personality, but also brings forward a statement of unfinished business from the past. If previous action has merited a fortunate karma, then the qualities of the sign are positively stated. If previous action merits an unfortunate karma, then the negative responds to the negative vibration of the sign. All of the sidereal influences are in themselves neutral, but they manifest as constructive or destructive according to the merit of the individual himself. Let us consider the signs in their order, bearing in mind especially the workings of the law of karma. Aries, the first sign, is in itself positive, but it carries with it much of the negativeness of Pisces, the preceding sign. There is no more certain indication of weakness than constant effort to be strong, or an overstatement of ambition. Aries is a sign of rebellion against the limitations and restraint of Pisces. Disappointment may be considered an Aries characteristic. Persons born under the sign are constantly struggling to overcome obstacles, not realizing that their greatest obstacle is the Piscean weakness within themselves. Astrological influences and karmic tendencies. Taurus is a negative sign, but persons born under it are in many ways more positive than negative in their impulses. Many men successful in industry and the military are born under this supposedly negative sign. The reason is, the inordinate ambitions of Aries lie in the karmic background of all Taurus people. The reason the sign is termed negative is because very often these dynamic impulses are blocked in their manifestation by the inflexible Taurian temperament. Ambition is locked in and comes to nothing unless the Taurian person subjects his life to a powerful self-discipline. Even the successful Taurian people are notoriously unhappy. Whatever they achieve is unsatisfying, and they live and die in bondage to unfulfilled desires. Their Aries karma denies them contentment. Gemini is considered to be a strong, positive intellectual sign, but throughout all of its aspects it is dominated by the subjective emotional impulses of Taurus. Gemini people are notoriously irritable and inconstant. One of the chief professions of the sign is writing, and literature as a whole is emotional and artistic, and its inspiration comes much more from Venus than from Mercury. Mercurial people are strongly temperamental, often moody, and not infrequently have morbid imaginations. The negative Mercurial frequently lacks integrity and is largely dominated by impulses and sense gratification, which is brought over from Venus, the ruler of Taurus. Cancer is a negative sign, strongly sympathetic and frequently a victim of inadequate mental control. The bad karma of Gemini works out through the dubious reasoning powers of the Cancer type. The undeveloped Cancer persons develop the most extraordinary attitudes on the numerous problems of life and relationship. Their sympathies do their thinking for them, and sentimental antipathies breed furious dislikes. Failure to orient in the intellectual sphere while living under the Gemini influence means a scattered existence under Cancer, with the thinking powers partly eclipsed by the hallucinations of the sentiments. Leo is a positive sign, but is frequently a victim of the evils of the sign Cancer. Unbalanced Leo types frequently suffer from some form of obsession, a malady peculiar to the psychism of Cancer. The obsession may range from a divinity complex to a highly aggravated infallibility complex. Leo people frequently feel that they are not as other mortals, that they are made by a special pattern, peculiarly endowed with semi-divine attributes. Their professions may vary, but whether they be evangelists or dictators, artists or financiers, they are overwhelmed with the impulse to reform. Leo is a sign of parenthood and teaching, and Leo people feel that they are the fathers and teachers of all mankind. Virgo is a negative sign and is, so to speak, the letdown from Leo. Virgo people very often find Leo circumstances thrust upon them, and they are forced by conditions beyond their control into positions of responsibility and leadership. The Virgo mind naturally seeks comfort, security, and protection, but is seldom privileged to enjoy either. It is a sign of responsibility and signifies the servant and the breadwinner. The sign of Leo is frequently associated with monetary affairs, and the problems of Virgo are usually monetary ones. If Virgo inherits a good karma from its Leo past, then it may be placed in positions of responsibility and trust and become an administrator of power and authority. If the Leo person has trampled on others in his path to power, he is apt to find his Virgo incarnation one of hopeless limitation and financial reverse. Libra is a positive sign and is regarded as one of the most artistic of the 12. Though under the rulership of Venus, Libra manifests many tendencies of the mercurial sign which precedes it. Libra frequently revolts against class limitation and rises to superiority usually from humble ancestry. In other words, it is a climbing sign. Two good examples of this climbing tendency of Libra are Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler. Virgo symbolizes the proletariat, and the fundamental psychology of Libra is a struggle against mediocrity. From its Virgo background, the Libra type also secures the capacity to judge human nature. Libra types become public idols because of the ability to handle people. Their bad karma, however, frequently limits their capacity to remain in high position, and disaster follows honor. Scorpio to Pisces, zodiacal reflections on karma and personality. Scorpio is a negative sign, yet in many ways it manifests a strength not always to be found in positive signs. But again, the course of the impulses is introverted. Scorpio's great problem is emotional control. The emotions of Scorpio are not derived from Mars, the ruler of the sign, but from the accumulated karma of Libra, ruled by the emotional planet Venus. Libra signifies justice, and its symbol is the scales. But where bad karma has caused the Libra native to depart from standards of integrity, the distortion of the justice sense comes out in Scorpio, where truth becomes involved in 1,000 emotional reflexes and loses all semblance to integrity. It is the bad karma of Scorpio to always know that it is right, whether it is right or not. It becomes its own standard of integrity. In a highly advanced Scorpio, this sense of justice may be highly perfected and lead to great attainment in the occult arts, but in a less developed type, judgment is usually hopelessly biased by the intensities of the emotions. Sagittarius is a positive sign and seems to deliberately revolt against the introversions of Scorpio. The Sagittarian is a good organizer and promoter. He receives these qualities as a legacy from Scorpio, but he puts them to much more evident use. The Sagittarian is usually entirely open and above board with his plans. This is a reaction from the Scorpio secretiveness. Sagittarius is a religious sign, which again is due to the strong emotional influence of Scorpio. Sagittarius is also the sign of long journeys on water, yet is not itself a water sign but borrows its affinity to liquids from Scorpio. Sagittarians frequently engage in occupations of a Scorpio nature, such as medicine, occultism, diplomacy, etc. The karmic tie between the two signs often manifests as dissipation, which is a negative Scorpio weakness. Capricorn is a negative sign, though in many ways one of the strongest and most enduring of the 12. In no sign is there more danger of introversion than in this one. The negative quality of the sign turns all the impulses back upon themselves and makes normal mental, emotional, and physical expression difficult. Yet Capricorn people are filled with the bubbling enthusiasm of Sagittarius. They are an independent, ambitious, naturally progressive group of people, but their normal expression is made almost impossible because of a peculiar crystallized personality. The Capricorn person inherits from his Sagittarian incarnation high aspirations and widely scattered resources. The lesson of Capricorn is a moderating of all extremes of living. Most of all, the Capricorn native must master the impatience and inordinate ambition of the Sagittarian and settle down to an appreciation of reasonable and simple things. Capricorn people are often unhappy not so much from the evils of their state, but from the comparison between their present position and some abstract standard towards which their ambitions are pointed. Aquarius is the last of the positive signs and inherits from Capricorn a peculiar fixation of viewpoint in the midst of an otherwise almost complete inconsistency. Aquarius is termed the sign of the liberals, and from social reform to dietetics the Aquarian is apt to be found pointing out the advantages of something new, and the hopeless disadvantage of things as they are. It may be said that Aquarians are born in the objective case. One that I know once referred to himself as one of the cranks that make the world go round. The sign is original and capable, and receives from Capricorn certain psychic undercurrents which strongly influence all of its activities. First, it embodies the Capricorn tenacity of viewpoint, and at the same time it lives in a constant state of revolt against Capricorn conservatism and accepted institutions. From Capricorn also comes a definite strain of melancholia, and like Capricornians, Aquarians have very few close friends. This is not because people do not like them, but because they cannot penetrate the Aquarian aura of super-individuality. The Aquarian should try to overcome the Capricorn karma of isolation and try to mingle in a happy, genuine way with the numerous interests of mankind. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac and is also a negative sign. As the 12th house rules karma particularly, and Pisces is the 12th house sign and the last division of the zodiac, it has special karmic significance. Aquarius is the greatest energy waster in the zodiac, because people born under that sign do not know how to relax. This waste is reflected in the debilities of the Piscean. Pisces also is completing a cycle and gathering up the loose ends of incarnations in the preceding 11 signs. The result is a heavy load of karma. When the karmic debt to the universe has been paid in the Pisces incarnation, the incarnating soul is then ready to start out afresh with a considerable part of karma sublimated into soul conduct. Copyright 2025 by Manly Hall Official. Thank you for listening. Please consider to subscribe, like, and share to help the channel growth. New videos on a daily basis.